So I'm reading. Just going to go through some various kinds of poems. A few. They've all pretty much been written in the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit. So many of them have different tones, and I wasn't sure how many moods I can create. I think that poetry is about creating a mood in a room and presence, and I'm not so sure how many moods if one can shift the mood too many times, so I'm going to see if that's possible. Okay. This is more a poem like a story. So I somehow managed to get addicted to heroin, but the funny thing is that I didn't even know I was on heroin. I am now up to 3 pills, but there are only like 4 pills left in the container. And I'm happy for that plastic container with the prescription that says, take one every 4 hours, because at least that way I know that if I'm tripling it, which isn't so close to an overdose, I guess. It just doesn't seem like Heath could have died from only 3. No way. But also, Heath was on other stuff. And I am too. Like my asthma inhaler and my nasal inhaler. Ha! That's a funny confession. Very Jewish. But when I was down in Florida visiting my parents, it was like I'd go into the bedroom and claw through this little purse I've been traveling with lately and pop one like every time someone raised their voice. Ah, relief. And seriously, usually it would have turned into a family drama like an O'Neill play in our kitchen. Everyone going for the bait, like a feeding frenzy on dangling bits of anxiety. This is not just pushing my buttons, but like jamming that button in the down position, the red flashing emergency button. But I was by then comfortable with all of their volleyball setups for emotional spiking. And like on some kind of pharmaceutical-induced family dynamic, I was like, fine, that one doesn't matter. It don't worry me. Like the song from Nashville goes. I'm like the girl at the end who finally gets her chance with the mic right after the real singer is assassinated and like bleeding through her white gown all over the guy who is like running her to an ambulance, screaming for help. I friggin' love the fuck out of that movie. How can I say it? Anyway, I was slowly just using the stuff, and especially on an empty stomach and with a drink. I found that 1 pill followed by 100 laps at the Y, no food, and a glass of Pinot Grigio was just right. At that round table at Brooklyn Social, way out on Smith Street near Carroll, and my phone right on the table, solid, at the tip of my finger, and waiting for a return text from Hyde, telling me, yes, he'll be right over after he gets back from Silas's play over at St. Anne's. That he'll meet me in the lovely co-ed I had just referred to in my text. I love that word, co-ed. How was it used back in the day? Not sure. And I almost offered them each a pill. But like I said, I only have a few left now, and what the hell will I do? I called my dad yesterday and told him that for my lower back, the tramadol is effective, but makes me a bit edgy, and that I might much prefer the other meds that I got after my wisdom tooth operation, which I still have a few of. And he said, they were a narcotic, and that I should not take them because they are addictive. I didn't really want to reveal exactly that, in fact, I was screaming for more of this crack, hiding my desperation and trying to trick him into writing me a big, fat, lifetime prescription. Should I go back to the lower back guy, Dr. Chen, I think, and pretend to be in agony? I remember that cryptic pain chart in his office with 5 faces. I was supposed to point to the one I was. The smiley face, the frowning face, the frowning, crying face, etc. Ugh, I am hooked. But I was always afraid, petrified of heroin. I thought it was really taboo, and if someone even mentioned it by name, I would turn off and change the subject. But really, I'm just trying to figure out if I can keep this daily life is good habit up. By the way, I took a new Life is Good cap from my dad's stash of 10 of them when I was down in Naples. So now I have that stick figure golf guy on my head. He is me. Even though I've never even swung a club. I just know it. My poem, this poem, is my hole-in-one. Watch it roll, baby. Watch it glide across that green and drop in the cup at the end. And the 2 pills yesterday while I was teaching in the snowstorm up at Purchase pretty much gave me the feeling that I was okay and just right in the groove, and that's golf. I remember pulling up the shade for the students and saying, "Watch this, watch this," and as the shade rose, calling it my movie. The snow was gorgeous, just like that whiteout in the cave of Mrs. Miller. We had just lucked out, me and Altman. We get these cinematic moments just when they're needed. And then school got canceled, and Julian offered to drive me, and I slammed back a second pill in the men's room with the remainder of my coffee, and we're on our way back to the city, and we had some wine in a bar on Atlantic Street, and talked as the bartender topped me off a few times very sweetly. Of course, I talked about my old friend Red Ferrari, my slow Ferrari, Lillian, the Lacanian. And keep in mind, Julian is from Buenos Aires, so he's got a hard-on if he just hears the word Lacan. And I'm talking about how much psychoanalysis has been about her panties in the end, and that one glimpse, that one day, and the freight train transference, and then my language got dirty, down and dirty, like I was no longer talking to my mother, but to a slut I wanted to fuck. And I had been strategically using terms like Bill Clinton, under oath, in front of the country up till then, referring to my desire for sexual encounters. But honest, all of a sudden I was cured in 2 days. So you could say her panties cured me, or her willingness at least to part her legs 1 millimeter for a split second. So maybe I did ask her to join my dick down on the couch and then fire her on her voicemail the next day. Maybe that's what cured me. Maybe I'll see if Sarah can get me more of those dissolving packets of codeine lined up like tea bags, 100 packs. And I can just start ripping off the top of the packages and dropping in 2 at a time into my glass of wine like Alka-Seltzer forming champagne. But it makes me a better person. Really, the junk brings out my best. Waving and saying thank you to the lifeguard on my way up the showers. And like in the train station up in White Plains, after I almost nodded out, I got off the train and walked to the bathroom, and this woman was pushing a man in on a wheelchair. And first I sort of held the door for her, but she didn't want to go in since it was the men's room. So I pushed the wheelchair in for her, and she stayed outside. But then the door closed, and I'm like all alone with this old corpse with like no legs. And like, what was I going to do? Like, bear hug the stranger and hold him up in front of the urinal? So I went back out and told her maybe she should go in as well and take care of him. I was like commandeering this problem. Like I was in charge. All dilated, but like sleepy. And I asked every other man to leave the room at once and told her I would stand guard outside, and she was grateful, and I guess the guy in the wheelchair was too, but don't know, he never moved. So I was standing outside the closed door, and this plump Mexican guy holding a children's guitar in a cardboard box witnessed the whole thing. And he looks deep into me with these glowing mariachi eyes and says in a Spanish accent that I am a very nice man. And I felt great for that split second. And maybe I smiled at him, embarrassed, and started to blush. And when the wheelchair came back out, the woman pushing it thanked me like I think I've never been thanked before. Like a real, genuine thanks. Like the thanks I received the other time, not too long ago, when I helped an old man on a cane across a very slushy NYC corner, offering my hand or something. Basically, like the heroine caused me to do an actual good deed. To be an actual good Samaritan. Like the heroine caused me to just be a good person, a hero even. Then I went into the dirty as piss and shit men's room and pissed out a tiny bit of my drugs and went down to catch a beautiful big bus and ride the glorious public transportation all the way to school through the private properties, looking over the stone walls without a drop of jealousy. The driver let me off at the edge of campus and seemed surprised that I was planning to hoof it all the way in, and I thanked him, of course, as the double doors flung out and down to